Have you been sick?
Yeah. Paden, we were sick all weekend. It was awful.
Oh, man, he's soft.
You know what?
That's why
I
he's
think
a real
that's
estate agent, is because he couldn't handle construction.
I didn't want these hands touching dirt anymore.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to do a market update. We have some good stats for you. This actually just came out last night, I'm pretty sure. So it is May 13th, and we're covering April's numbers. This is the most accurate, up-to-date info that we have, and we're just going to run through what we're seeing today, because I feel like what we see today are the numbers that we're going to be reviewing next month, right?
And we are the most accurate and best presenters of this information.
We are. I mean, this is the best.
Facts.
This is the best market update you'll find in Utah. No,
it's the best update in the world for Utah's stats.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. So you want to lead us off with?
Yeah, start with some new listings, huh?
Yeah.
All right. New listings in April of 2024 were 5,623, and April of 25 were 6,309 for an increase of 12.2% of new listings. Wow,
which is high, but we're down from 19% that of in March. So it's come down, which is interesting. Dude, it's just been a weird year.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing that's not the same thing that happened last year.
He's just going to say he doesn't know why. And I don't know why either, but it is what it is.
I want to say something, but I don't. That's weird, dude. I don't know what to tell anybody about that. If you're wanting to look at houses, there's plenty of them to look at.
Just blame it on Trump,
dude. The big T. Yeah. We were gonna bring him up at some point.
Yeah. Pending sales. So a count of the properties which offers have been accepted in a given month. April of 2024 was 3,950. April of 2025, 3,724. We're down 5.7%. So increase in new listings, decrease in pending sales.
Closed sales, a count of the actual sales that closed in a given month. April 2024, 3,712. April 2025, 3,627 for a decrease of 2.3%. So pending, closed sales are both down. New listings is up.
Which, if we were to draw a line and say, like, what year did we have this same amount of sales? Dude, that's crazy. My line is not perfectly straight, but I would put it in 2011 era.
Yeah.
So I would in 2020, in say Marchish or April. It's actually January, February, March, April, May, June. So May of 2020, we had 5,800 closed sales. And then it peaked up to 6,500 in June. And we're half that. I guess not quite, but about half. We're half the volume selling as we were in the peak.
Yeah, and I just as a quick side note, I almost feel like though that this is just a response to those couple of years, because there's no reason. We're just stagnant. The entire market right now is just stagnant for the last 2 years, and it's interesting.
Well, it's got to be. I believe it's from interest rates. I do. I think rates are. You know what? My line was way crooked. I would put it in 2012 instead of 11. Anyways.
But even trying to compare it to 2012 or trying to compare it to 2021, this market right now, anybody that says they know what's going on doesn't, because they're.
Or do they?
I don't know. That's a good question. I never thought about that.
Well, I would say it's fairly predictable.
The market?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's just pretty flat.
In general, yeah, it is very flat.
I mean, it's just
But I mean, once again, I can't emphasize this enough. Anybody that says they think because closed sales are down that we're going to see prices decrease this year, I feel like are not correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think our days on market have to be higher, because I would say the leading indicator for prices to go down would be higher days on market. And I think we still don't have the inventory and demand ratio hasn't got bad enough to where it's put us into that buyer's market where prices would be affected more. But that's just my thought.
Well, and we need to keep going with some stats. But so I think what we're both kind of agreeing on, it's just kind of a normal real estate market right now.
Yeah.
Like people are buying, people are selling. There's no like large events.
It's a healthy, I mean, other than our inventory, that's the biggest change that
Yeah.
we've seen, I think, is buyers have so much more to choose from, and sellers, like nowadays, it's like, hey, seller, it's just slow right now, right? It's just going to take some time, and prepping the sellers for that timeline is kind of what I feel like has changed, right?
I could see that as long as you're priced appropriately.
Yeah. So days on market until sell, average numbers of days between when a property is listed and when an offer is accepted in a given month. So April of 2024, we were at 54 days on market. We are up to 61 days on market. We're up 13% that of last year. And so if we were to draw a line going back to when, geez, I need like a ruler.
2016-ish.
Is that when you'd say it is?
Yeah, well, because I'm just going off. There is that line there. But
you have to compare the same time of year,
That's true.
though.
So 1, 2 down. 1, 2 down.
It's probably, I would.
It's 2017, 2018. Well, but keep in mind, here's the thing. Here's what we need to put some clarification on. That's where it matches. But if you, it's just going up past that. So in 2010, 2011, this same time of year, we were at 130 days on market, something like that. 2015, that we were at 1, 2.
I think you're
75.
right. It was like sometime in between 16 and 20.
So we're not like historically. Once again, historically, this is just still a normal market. Even these days on market, it's the trends, the small trends that we're seeing are really weird with the way that like new listings are popping up, and even the fact that we're seeing that. Well, no, actually, days on market went from 64 last month to 61, which is what happens this time of year.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit easier to sell.
Yeah. Well, if you look at January and February, like 70 days on market, like that's just a slow time of the year. And that's why you see every one of these years, like days on market goes up in the wintertime and drops way down. Like I would say 10 to 25 days on average. That kind of seems like it's a trend. Dude, that's a good stat I've never realized. Like if you look at these humps, every hump seems to equal about a full 25 days.
Yeah.
So if you were to list, like if you were to sell, the difference between selling in like the dead of winter and the dead of summer is about 25 days. That's cool. You can quote me on that.
The big point I want to emphasize on this is that it is a boring market. Anybody that's trying to create all these crazy things, they're not. It's a standard. If you're looking to buy or sell,
but if you want to have a party, call either Paden. And
you call either Paden.
It's just going to be a hoot.
We're gonna have a blast. We're gonna cause a ruckus, and we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna keep going over these stats, but your theme, everybody's theme right now is that if you have an expectation of the real estate market being anything more than boring, it's not. The prices are going up a little bit slowly. Days on market are going down because it's the middle of the summer. There's no large events that seem like it's going to push it anywhere. Although I could be wrong.
And if you're going to get in a long-term relationship with an agent, it might as well be somebody that's fun.
Might as well be somebody that's fun.
Because you're not just, it's not, we're not talking like 12 days like in 2020.
Oh, no.
We're talking 60 days.
Well, yeah. And even having an agent,
days.
It's deep. Even having an agent, though, that a buyer's agent that can work with you for 61 days and create realistic expectations. Like, once again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Everybody acts like all agents are the same and it doesn't matter. But if you have somebody that doesn't know what they're doing and it takes you 120 days to find a house when it could have taken you 60 days, doesn't matter. Work with an agent that can create realistic expectations in you and can create realistic expectations for themselves so that they're able to work with you and create a scenario that's the best for you.
And get you the results that you want.
Yeah, well, there's so many different tangents I want to go off on, but the market's really boring, but your real estate agent shouldn't be.
There you go.
There you go. That's the motto. Put that up on the motto.
Oh, okay. This is your turn. Median.
Median. Okay. Sorry, I'm ripping my stuff. Median sales price, point at which half of the sales sold for more and half sold for less, not accounting for seller concessions in a given month. Just going to reemphasize, not accounting for seller concessions in a given month. April of 2024, $501,000. April of 2025, $507,000 for an increase of 1.2%. So if you use this as for home values, which a good chunk of people do, they're saying that home values went up by about 1.2% for this specific data set.
It is interesting, though, if we look going back to like May of 2024, our year over year change, like we were like 3%, 3.72, 3.32, 3.95, to 5.5, but these last like 3 months, 2.8, 2, 1.2, 1.2. So like we're seeing less change there.
Yeah, 12-month average of even just 3.1%.
I think it's just flat. Like look at our numbers. Like there's been like almost no on the median sales price. It looks like a plateau over the past year. I think that's just the market has cooled off and prices have just been fairly stagnant.
Yeah, well, and this is what I like to see. This is when everybody else is going to be exiting the market because they're not seeing the gains that everybody, once again, this is not a super cool, this isn't a hip market. This is a boring market.
You know what?
This is opportunity. This is where the opportunities are at. Sorry, go ahead.
You know what? Phone calls have died off a lot for me lately. Investor calls.
Yes. Yeah,
nobody wants to invest in real estate right now.
No, it's not a good time to invest. Well,
you were just saying it was.
Let me just emphasize all of this.
Oh, man.
I feel like right now, if you're looking at this number, 3.1%, there's other avenues that you can make more than 3.1%.
Right. But this probably means that it's going to get good here soon.
My thought process on it isn't even that. Because investors see this number and they're exiting, there's less people buying houses.
Right.
Less demand gives you opportunity to get a better price on a home.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter that this is the average. You could get
this is
speculation, but you could get 6 to 10% if you were willing to do the work to try to find a home at a discounted value.
That's crazy. So Paden says if you buy right now with him, you'll get 6 to 10%.
Don't. But I'm just saying that if there's that duplex that you want to submit an offer on, and the numbers don't work at the list price, but they work at 95% what the list price is. Yeah. There's still opportunities as long as you can look.
It's very quiet in the market right now. I would say it reminds me of the crypto market. Like I always want to invest in Bitcoin when it's like climbing like the ladder straight up, and I'm like, but that's not the time you want to invest. You want to invest when it's like dead silent and like nobody's talking about it. It's not really doing anything. Like for all we know, we could be building up for another spike because they're going to lower interest rates or whatever, and things are going to just explode.
Well, I'm not telling you to invest in cryptocurrency as an investment vehicle. I'm not 100% sure, but Ethereum was all the way down to $1,500 3 weeks ago or something, and it's back up to $2,500.
Oh my gosh.
Your opportunities are the best when it is at its lowest point. Now, take it out of the grain of salt.
It's not the lowest though. It's just not exciting right now.
The housing market, it's not at the lowest, but it isn't. It's not like there's nothing that's attracting anybody to the housing market right now except if they're forced to buy or sell a house.
Yeah,
and that's a great time when there's not so much demand.
Yeah.
But once again, pure speculation.
Yeah,
speculation.
I agree with that.
Don't buy a house right now if you don't have the money.
Yeah. We moved last year. I felt like it was a good time, but anyways, average sales price.
I think you've got opportunities like this. I feel like this is the boring moment in time that people make money.
Yeah.
But
people be like, I'm glad I bought that house in 2025.
Oh, I feel like that. People in 2022 aren't happy they bought a house right now. No. Not all of them. But that was the height of the market. That was when everybody was freaking out about everything.
Yeah.
There was so much stuff going on.
Yeah.
Right now, nobody's talking about it.
That's true.
And so I like that indicator. That's a Paden indicator.
That's a good indicator. I like that indicator a lot.
Sorry, go ahead. Average sales price.
Okay, average sales price. Average sales price for all the closed sales, not accounting for seller concessions in a given month. So this is, you get the average by adding them all up, dividing them by the input number. In April of 2024, 652,000. April of 2025, 664,000, an increase of 1.9%. The exact same.
Strange. That's very strange.
average sales price, I don't like the average sales price, honestly. I prefer the median.
This just fluctuates more. As a data point, it probably would work better if you had the average for the full year. So the average for the full year is for 12 months is 2.6%.
Yeah.
Which is fairly similar to the average of 3.1% for your median.
Yeah.
So I would say that's a pretty good stat. Your home prices went up somewhere between 2.6 and 3.1% in the last year.
Which is what they say is
Which
average.
is standard. That's
Yeah.
3 to 7% is.
I think it's like 3. I don't know what my brother just said 3% today in his presentation.
He's very handsome. That's a good point.
Yeah. All right. You got percentage of original list price.
Percentage of original list price. Percentage found when dividing a property's sales price by its original list price, then taking the average for all properties sold in a given month, not accounting for seller concessions. Basically, you list your house for $100,000. If list is sold at 97%, people are typically buying it at $97,000, not accounting for seller concessions. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah.
2024, April of 2024, 97.7%. April of 2025, 97.3%. So sellers' expectation of prices are actually a little bit worse this year compared to last year. They're getting a little bit less than what they were getting last year for their original list price.
Which
not a substantial amount.
I think that's I would expect that given days of market are going up and new listings are up, right? It's just weird our prices have just still been flat. But the demand is still there, right? There's still a healthy demand to keep the prices where they need to be. Not need to be or where they are, right? To where we're not losing money.
But then your question does go to, if you're listing your house at 100% and then it takes you 65 days to sell and it makes it so that there's extra seller concessions, would it have been better just to list your house at 97.3%? These numbers are, you need to be careful of these numbers. Don't use this as an exact number. But I'm telling you, on one of my listings, I advised them to list just $10,000 less than where they were going to be at. And we ended up getting 2 offers, and we have a third offer that's trying to come in on a home that's pretty niche, pretty specific. Yeah. And so listing appropriately, as boring as it is smart right now.
Which I had a close agent friend that I am friends with. I was going to say was, but I still am. I saw her post on her story the other day that she's like, I'm prepping sellers because it's a weird market. Like we just had somebody ask for, I think it was like $15,000 in seller paid closing costs, which I've been seeing a lot more. And even just this last week, I had a sell and the buyers got $20,000 in seller paid concessions. Yeah. And I feel like that's getting less or more and more common. I even saw an offer not too long ago with $40,000 in seller paid closing costs, but that's not being calculated into this price. So, and I pulled a stat once on I was doing the CMA report on a house here in Riverdale, and I had like 10 comps, and I'm like, I wonder how many of these comps had seller paid concessions, and I went back and counted them. 8 out of the 10 had seller paid concessions. It's like 75% of them. I think it does vary. The higher end you go, like you see that less because more people have cash and like larger down payments and stuff like that. But still, you still do see it if people are trying to buy down an interest rate or do things like that. So
this is another huge point, though, at this specific moment in time, with the median sales price going up 3% in a year. So in your mind, you're thinking, oh, okay, I'm making about 3% a year. But if you were able to buy a house and get it at 97% value and ask for $15,000 or $20,000 of seller paid concessions, and it's a $400,000 house, maybe 10 or 15, that's another 3% that you can help with paying your closing costs. Yes. And then also either buying down your rate or not, just getting a little lower purchase price.
Well, I kind of like, and this is a deal that we just did, they bought down their rate for the first year. And the lender's like, he's like, we basically just put the closing costs in a separate escrow account. And you didn't, like, the seller technically bought down your rate, but every mortgage payment that you make, we add a little bit from that account to make the full amount. But your payments are cheaper for that first year. So that's an easy way to get the sellers to pay for your mortgage, basically, for 1, 2, 3 years.
Well, and if you refinance before you use all those funds, the funds go back to
Yeah, they give them back.
you.
So it's like that's better than buying down the rate, in my opinion. Because and again, do what you want, but I on my loan, I was like, I don't care what my rate is. I'm not going to spend money trying to buy this down when I'm 95, maybe not 95, 75% sure that I'll probably refinance this in the next 5 years. That's just my guess. And so I think doing that not buy down, but like the 2-1 buy down, where
Yeah.
you can get that back if you did refinance, and it basically saves you money for that first year. And the only way you can get that money, because there's only so much closing costs you can get from a seller.
Yeah.
Like they could have got 10,000 and covered their normal closing costs, but then they got 20,000 and they covered their normal closing costs plus that buy down for the first year, basically. But they didn't permanently buy down the rate. It was just like a temporary rate buy down. Have you done that?
I haven't yet. I'm more and more interested in it. I understand the logic of wanting to buy down your rate permanently so you can understand all of it better. But there seems to be a huge advantage if you did do a 3-2-1 buy down or 2-1 buy down, and you were aware of the risks and you were comfortable if interest rates didn't go down in 2 or 3 years, that the mortgage payment was manageable.
Yeah.
To be very clear. But let's say interest rates do go down in 1 year and you did a 3-2-1 buy down and it cost you $25,000, and all of a sudden you get a $15,000 or $20,000 payday or whatever. I don't know what the number is.
Yeah.
I mean, on a $400,000 house, once again, that's another 2%, 3% back in your pocket.
Right. When I think you just have to weigh, do you feel like rates are going to go down lower? Because you can permanently buy it down, but if you refinance and you permanently buy it down, you don't get any money back.
Yeah, and right now at this moment in time, it's saving you money maybe for the next year, but every assuming person is that interest rates are going to go down somewhere between 6 months and 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
but you have to run that calculator. Like, hey,
Yeah.
it saves me $60 a month. I'm spending $5,000 to buy it down. It'd take me X amount of years to repay this back, type deal.
So make sure you understand it, I guess, is the thought process.
Yeah. But realize that sellers are negotiating, and I mean, it is hard to know like where to price houses too, because you're like, man, it is a wonky market right now, and some houses go fast, others take more time. Like there's no rhyme or reason to it, really. You kind of shoot at the hip and you're like, well, let's get feedback and go from there and see what we can make happen. Housing Affordability Index.
Ooh.
This is a good one. This index measures housing affordability for the region. It basically takes the median household income and the median price home under prevailing interest rates, and a higher number means greater affordability. A lower number means less affordable. And as you can see from this chart, we are very unaffordable. Last year we were 72. This year we're 74. So we've actually become 2 percentage points. I don't know if it's percentage points, but 2 points more affordable. But we're still very, very, very unaffordable. And I think we got super unaffordable end of 2021. I mean, right when they raised interest rates, things got super unaffordable in 2022. We were above 80, and now we've been hovering just in the 70s for the past like 2.5 years, it seems like.
So you're saying investors and normal people don't want to buy a house? So there's so much less demand in people buying?
Yeah.
It's an interesting trend.
Yeah.
The question would be,
but how do you make your numbers work? That's the hard part. If you're an investor, like, how do you do it?
if you're an investor,
Yeah.
I would just say, like, that's the hard thing right now is I think that the most successful investors right now are going to be the people that can do a slightly larger down payment. Investors already have to do 20%. So
I would argue there are less people out there looking for deals right now. There's less competition. So if you're really looking, it's like if you're mining for gold in a river and the whole river's flooded with people, like you're probably not going to find that much. But now half of the people have left, and there's actually some elbow room and some space to find some good deals.
Well, and time to sit down and crunch out numbers.
Yeah.
Like back in 2021, when you were investing in something, you had 1 day
Yeah.
max to get an offer in. Where now, sit down, figure out an action plan to figure out how it would. I got to do $200,000 down. I got to do $50,000 down. And if it was a 3% gain every year and I was able to get this much rent, these are realistic scenarios that I feel like would make it so I make more money off this than I would of stocks or bonds or whatever.
The last property we bought, we threw an offer out, and I'm like, hey, if your sellers would take this, we'd entertain it. They're like, nah, it's too low. And we just let it sit. And I'm like, all right, yeah.
A couple weeks later?
Fine. A couple weeks later. So like you throw out enough of those, and it's interesting because they do come back, and I'm seeing more and more of them come back. And it's almost like you throw out an offer and you just let it sit, and then sometimes they come back, right? And I've seen it a bunch with clients too. Like, hey, like unfortunately that price doesn't work for us. This price would, would you sell at this price? And sometimes they're like, no. And then you do sometimes get that call back. But if you're an investor and you throw out enough of those, like eventually you'll start getting some lucky callback. So
well, and what happens too if you were able to get one or two properties as an investor in the next couple of years that you've done a lot of research on and you got them at a really comfortable price, and then interest rates do go down and demand does go up. It's not the opportunity right now to make a bunch of equity. It's the opportunity in 2 or 3 years when interest rates go down and if demand goes back up, that's when you make your money.
Yeah.
Or not. Speculation.
I mean, I've been dreaming about that day I can refinance my 7.1% interest rate.
That's disgusting. Like, yeah. You make me sick as a person.
Yeah. Dude, I just go to bed and I'm like feeling all dirty.
Sometimes I text him and I say, think about that. 7.1.
Yeah.
All right. Inventory of homes for sale. The number of properties available for sale and active status at the end of a given month. Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is juicy.
April of 2024, 10,619. April of 2025, 14,528. That's the highest number we've.
See, and I think you should just like tell everybody you're sorry because you said this wasn't exciting and it was boring.
That's pretty exciting. That's a fair point. But this is the highest number we've seen since 2015.
Yeah.
That's if you wanted to look at multiple houses.
But that was 15 in the fall. Like that was 15 dropping off.
That's true. Man. Yeah. Yeah.
We're 2025 in the spring. That's interesting.
We could see it. We could see inventory levels. You think they'll get to 20,000 this year?
No.
Maybe. No, they're not gonna.
No.
No.
I mean, let's make it bet. 20,000. That's a huge jump.
I'll do a bet. I'll do a bet for funsies. I'll do a bet.
Okay. Sushi.
Sushi. Done. For our wives too.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to tell me what you're going to bet first. If you're going to say 11,000, that's not fair.
I think 20,000. I think that I want it if we're to.
Sorry, 16,000. You're going to say 20,000?
I think that
if it hits 20,
how high I think it's going to go up to at least 17 or 18,000 this year. I feel like another 3,000 in inventory as the market heats up isn't crazy. But what's your number?
Well, I'm just going to go anti whatever you say.
So you think it's going to go down?
I just don't think it's going to hit 20.
I'll where do you want to hit?
I mean, I would be okay if you said, because here's the thing. We've been jumping up for the past, since December, we've been going up in inventory. And then I think it's going to taper off this summer. I would be shocked if we get to 18.
Okay, 19, 18. If it's below 18,500. If it's below 18,500, you win. If it's above 18,500, I win.
All right.
That fair?
Yeah. Okay, sign here. 18,500. I've made these bets before and then I forget and I have to go back and watch. So
that's why I signed.
So yeah. And you're saying up and I'm saying below. Paden F. Okay.
And if it hits 18,500 exactly, we buy each other sushi.
There we go. Our wives buy us sushi.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's get it. Bailey, you check on that.
Oh.
That's just 1 second. To go back real quick. That's a lot of inventory on the market. You've got a lot of, if you're looking for a house and you're wanting to look at many houses and it seems like to have time to think about it, like this is a good moment and opportunity to sit down, ponder the house that you want to buy, and be able to look at multiple houses and get a good grasp of the real estate market.
You know what is a question I would like to know, though? Because we just went back 10 years almost to 2016 to 2025. We'll just say 2015 to 2025. And we've always had below 15,000 homes on the market at the end of a given month, which seems about right. But if we go 2015 to 2006, so 2006 to 2015, we were 15,000 and above. Like we were up to 30,000 at one point. What is weird to me is how was there 30,000 homes available on the market back then when there was less homes even built, right? Like it seems like we've added, it'd be interesting to know how many more units and like residential units we've added in the past 10 years and that we're still at these low levels. Because do you think there's a time when we could be 30,000 or above because our inventories, our demand's higher and there's just more homes that have been built in Utah over the past 10 years? So the inventory of homes for sale at the end of a given month divided by the average monthly pending sales from the last 12 months. So you should know last April 2024, 3.2. This April 2025, 4.1. We're up 28%. So more month supply of inventory. A good rule of thumb that I kind of go off of is anything 6 months or less is a seller's market. Anything 6 months or more is a buyer's market. So, all right, Paden, give us your advice for buyers and then tell us what you think sellers should know right now.
As a buyer, I love this market. I think it's really tasty. I think that you need to be.
It's tasty. I like that.
Well, I do. The fact that it's so boring.
It's a buffet.
It is. Oh, it is a huge buffet.
It's a buffet.
And it submit offers on houses that functionally work well for you and that the mortgage payment's manageable and have them say no. I think that if you're wanting an opportunity to find your dream house, right now is an easier opportunity than it probably has been because demand is lower and there's more houses. Where in 2020, if you found your dream house, 5 other people would be submitting an offer on it too.
Yeah, you can definitely figure out, if you can figure out the payment, you can.
Which is a hurdle. I don't want to downplay it.
Well, but there are ways, just like the seller paying for, doing the buy down and things like that. Like we can get pretty creative on how to structure these deals. You just came back from like a home inspection. You're like, yeah, I think it's gonna blow up. And I was telling you about a deal in Ogden that we closed like a month or two ago where it had like a bad roof, the sewer line was collapsing, it had high levels of radon, and there was a few other things. Like it seemed like everything, like every big thing that could go wrong on a deal went wrong on that one. And somehow we still like figured out a way to like keep it together. We had to get really creative, but like that's the beauty about this market is I think you can get creative like that and like piece together stuff if the parties want it, right? You can't force the buyer and the seller that don't want it, right? Yeah. But it seems like most sellers are fairly like, no, we do want to sell. Like we don't want to sit on this for another couple months, and you can like deals can be made here.
Well, and once again, if there's 3 offers on a home for a seller, they're much less willing to do anything.
Yeah, they're not going to do anything for you, really.
Where one offer on a home in 45 days, and you've got a much more, a lot more options.
I know last podcast you'd seen a few like multiple offer situations. Are you still seeing them a fair amount, or like?
I feel like in a lot of the houses that I'm seeing, if you're wanting to, I feel like you still are seeing multiple offers. They're just kind of slow multiple offers.
Yeah.
Where you'd see multiple offers Saturday or Sunday, they kind of seem to be like Monday or Tuesday now.
Yeah.
So if you do like a house, if you did get an offer in fairly quickly, it might create an opportunity where you would be the only offer.
Dude,
you got to be careful with that.
We had a weird deal on a listing. I was a listing agent. After like 30, 45 days on the market, we had one offer roll in. Then we had another showing. We sent that offer a counter. And then this other buyer came in and was like, hey, we want to write an offer. They wrote their offer. We're like, ooh, this offer is better than the other one. We rescinded our counter and went with this other buyer and got it closed up after like 30, 45 days on the market. It was crazy. That happens sometimes too.
Yeah. It's all about
It's weird.
You can't decide when the buyer for your house decides he wants to go buy a house.
Yeah.
It's a weird.
And sometimes it seems more often than not, whether even if you're a seller or buyer, it's like, it seems like a lot of people are sitting on the fence and then somebody jumps off and then the other people catch wind like, oh, we got an offer on this house. And then everybody's jumping off and then you get multiple offers.
Yeah, but that way you just described that house is exactly what this market is right now. You've got a million people that are standing on the fence. And once people start jumping off, the question would be, are other people going to try to follow them?
Right.
Not everybody's jumped off yet.
Not everybody's jumping off. Sometimes you get lucky and people jump off. If you're a seller, you obviously want multiple offers. If you're a buyer, you obviously don't want multiple offers. So if you're a buyer, my advice is like, don't sit, like if you like it, throw an offer in. Cause I see far too often buyers are like they put too much confidence in the market that, oh, homes are sitting on the market 60 plus days. Let's just take our time. We have time. And then after a week, they're like, oh, let's write an offer on it. They write an offer and then there's another offer and they're like, crap, Have you seen that?
I see. You see that all the time. Even in cool markets, that's just what happens. If somebody waits.
If you like it, write an offer. Like act quick, get that out there because people think that like once you write the offer, you're committed. You're not committed. You have time to still figure it out. If they're going to counter it, and negotiations take time, right? If you write an offer, they counter back, you counter again, like you could lose like half a week during that time frame, sometimes
easily.
A week, right?
Easily.
And so like just be quick to the punch and keep those negotiations speedy. If you're a buyer and if you're a seller, what's your advice?
I still think the advice is the same. If you've got a desirable house, still listed a little bit lower than what you're listed on the lower end of what your home's value could be.
Yeah.
I still think that wholeheartedly is the best piece of advice right now.
Because you believe if you can get more buyers that are interested and they're like, ooh, this house is 500,000, the neighbor's house is 550, and you can drive more people there and kind of still the competition and get like you can get a higher price and save the time basically.
Yeah, well, and even if hypothetically, I think a lot of people look at it like, oh, my neighbor sold for 520 and I sold for 510. I made less money. That's not necessarily true. If the neighbor had 520, but it was on the market for 75 days, and so they had $20,000 in seller paid concessions, and yours was on the market for 7 days, and you got 2 offers, and so you had 0 seller concessions. I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen, but there's so many more variables. And like, if you do it a little bit lower, you get more interest in your home, and hopefully you can sell it a little bit quicker, and you can have a little bit less negotiation that happens against you.
What about the argument that you can never, like once you come out with a list price, you can never go back and like increase the price, but you can always come down?
Yeah, and I don't hope you would have an agent. You know what? If you're using an agent that can at least list it in a reasonable area, and I know we've had conversations about like the random wild stuff and all of that.
Yeah.
But as long as you're not listing like $40,000 below its market value or whatever, or 10%, that's just not a.
So you just keep it slightly under competitive. Like you just try and keep it competitive.
Yeah, I mean, you got your price range on a $400,000 house. I bet you in your mind you could create a price range of like you've got comps that show it at 380, you've got comps that show it at 420. These comps at 420 are pretty nice. Maybe this one isn't as nice. These ones at 380 are a little bit dirty. You go
400.
With these comps, these are 400, but we're seeing that homes are on the market for 70 days. We know that this home needs to sell fairly quickly so we can get money to the sellers because they need the money. 390.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
And I think it depends on the seller because I have some sellers that are like,
I'd agree.
I got all the time in the world. It only makes sense for me to sell if I can get this price that I need to get out of it. And then at that point, it's like, am I comfortable marketing it and investing my resources into getting it done at that price?
That's a business choice.
Because it seems like that's where they're at. And, sometimes we are. Sometimes I'm like, I just don't see you getting that number,
Well, and is just a really quick side note. Yeah. That's where if you're working with sellers that treat you well as an agent, that try to make it so that they're comfortable with you, they communicate effectively with you, and that you enjoy working with, you're much more willing to take more risks with sellers that you feel like aren't going to be trying to do anything against you than you
Right.
are for sellers that are just trying to nickel and dime every single aspect of a sale.
Right.
And you get them wanting to nickel and dime, you really do. But there's a huge piece of it that real estate is it's a gamble in every way, shape, and form every single time.
Yeah.
You know, I guarantee you're not going to sell for 50% less of what its value is, but we've both had situations where we've had homes priced really appropriately that sold for $20,000 less than what we expected.
Yeah.
We've also had homes that we felt like, wow, these are priced really high. They're sold for $10,000 more.
Right.
And
And you just don't know.
It's just happenstance that the buyers for that specific house came out and they had these opinions that were different than what your expectations were because the information that you had said that they wouldn't do that.
Right.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a business decision on the people that are wanting to list their houses really high if you want to take their work or not. And part of that calculation is, do I enjoy working with these sellers?
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. There's so many variables, and it's like no matter how many deals you do, you still haven't seen it all, right? Like I've had a few times this month that I had to call like a few other brokers and I'm like, hey, I haven't been in this spot before. What should I do? Just because like every deal is so different, right? And that's where I think it's helpful to have somebody on your side that's like, hey, you know, we've been doing this for this many years. This is all we do, eat, breathe, and sleep is this stuff. We just got done with our team meeting where we sit in here and just be like, hey, this is what we're seeing. How do I combat this issue? And it's helpful when you have somebody that's like, hey, out of all these transactions, all these deals, this is what I would do given your goals and your situations. Like you have plan A, B, and C. Like, what do you feel most comfortable with? What do we want to, like, what's our strategy here? And then you run with it. And I feel like that's where we really shine, is because we can tailor the strategy for the clients and the results that they want to get out of it. Right.
Yeah. Well, and not only those pieces of it where you can say all these things, but we've seen all these things happen. You know why I can give you 3 options? Because I've seen the end of all 3 of those options multiple times.
Yeah.
And so I know it's going to happen because I've watched it.
Right.
And so when people say, you know, I want to buy a house that needs a little bit of work, you can say, look, I understand what you're saying. It's going to be twice as expensive. It's going to take you 3 times as long. And I know that because I've done specifically that. Or people that get a mortgage payment that is, you know, or people that are too aggressive on a mortgage payment and want to go get the smallest, lowest mortgage payment possible and getting the cheapest house. And you're like, you know, it's worth spending that extra $20,000 or $40,000 and getting a slightly higher mortgage payment as long as it's manageable and you're still comfortable with it, and getting a house with 1 extra bedroom so that you can stay in there 5 to 10 years instead of 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
We've seen all of this
Right.
multiple times at this point.
Speaking of that, you just did something exciting in your personal life.
I got sick.
No. The other thing.
Mobile home.
Yeah.
It's a hoot.
Yeah. How's it going?
I think it's going good. We've had 2 people apply to the park. I got an agent saying they're going to submit an offer today. I don't know if I could say all the numbers, but we bought it for 26. We've listed it for 46. We've spent about $2,000 at this point, maybe less than that.
Jeez, spendy.
Yeah, I think it's more like it's the insurance.
I'm being sarcastic. That's really good numbers for like what you could potentially make here. So.
We'll see. Mobile homes are not real estate. I want to be super clear on this. Not from like a liability standpoint, but the process for mobile homes, there's no title reports.
Yeah.
I mean, you get an inspection, but it's also
You're selling cars.
selling cars.
I'm
a used car salesman.
Yeah.
Let's get up. I'll get in front of it. Yeah. I need your money.
Yeah.
If you're looking to sell your used mobile home, let me know, I guess.
Paden's your mobile home expert if you need help with mobile
Well,
homes.
it is as a small, we don't have to include this in the podcast. I listed 1 mobile home 2 years ago. I had nobody reach out to me. This year, I've had 3 separate individual lenders, not companies, individual lenders saying that they have mobile home products.
Oh, really?
Which is crazy.
That's cool.
With as low as 5% down for a 25-year period, which like this is.
Well, and they're coming out with a new mobile home Repsy, which will be nice,
Yeah,
like the
that will
purchase
be handy.
contract. So we're getting more, because we can sell them. It's just nobody really knows exactly what to do and how to do it.
Yeah,
So call
and-
call Paden. He's your guy.
Here's the last thing. Now you got me blabbering. The hardest thing about mobile homes is if I'm selling a $50,000 mobile home, even at 3%, it's $1,500. Taking nice pictures for a house, what I spend on it minimum for a house is $500.
Yeah.
And so we have to charge $3,500 just to sell your house. Like
Yeah.
that's the minimum for our time.
Right.
And so that's your hard thing with mobile homes is that the numbers, if you're wanting somebody to sell your house for top dollar, or you're wanting somebody to try to do a really
you
good,
charge different on mobile
yeah.
homes.
And there's, but it's interesting because lenders, I had these lenders like, we do like 10 or 15 mobile homes a month. We don't really make that much money on it. And it's really interesting, like why
you're
you're putting a lot of work.
Yeah, why do you sell mobile homes then?
Yeah, when are you just going to get burnt out and hate your life after?
Yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't matter. But yeah, mobile homes they are not real estate. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful. I just mean that in it's a different process. Every aspect of it is a different process.
Yeah.
The only thing that's the same is you put it on the MLS. That's the only similar part to it.
Well, I'm excited to see how you do, and I hope it goes under contract
Yeah,
soon.
thanks.
And next podcast, dude, you're just going to be like, yeah, flipped a mobile
I've got
home.
16 more mobile homes.
Yeah.
I got really big into it.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. Well, hopefully this gives people like a good pulse on the market. We got a little sidetracked, but I think it was fun. And anything else you want to end with?
I genuinely do think that if you're wanting to buy a house right now, it's not saying that you should buy a house. You got a lot of options.
Yeah.
I think that's a good lesson for today.
It is a great time.
To see houses at a minimum.
Yeah, see them.
Other than that,
offers.
great conversation.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Until next time, guys.
Bye.